1 o'clock too. All right, well, let us attention prayer. Let us pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the world, the Beneficent, the Merciful Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path you have bestowed favors, not of those whom your wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray. Ameen. Okay, brothers and sisters, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Minister Louis Farrakhan is the first fruit of him that slept, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the first begotten of the dead. And I think when we study those things, that concept, I think it will give us a lot of insight as to who we are and what we are to do in our walk on the path of righteousness. So we're going to start back with auditing. And I do believe that we had got rid of, we were talking about auditing gets rid of an unwanted barriers that inhibit, stop, or blunts a person's natural abilities as well as gradiently increases his abilities. And I think I want to stop right there when it says gradiently increases his abilities. Because what happens is that every time you auditing represents a confrontation of the contents of a person's case. And every time you confront it, then you are making progress. You are just making progress. And that's just all it is to it. It's rigged so you can make progress. Allah wants you to confront it. So he rewards every confrontation with an acquisition and an accumulation of data related to that which you are confronting. And as you confront these, the more you confront it, you are able to impose the God that is within you, the God that is you. You are able to impose yourself on this particular thing to conquer it. Your nature and my nature is to conquer everything. You know, the Quran says that man was created to face difficulties. It also says that man was created in toil and struggle. And so we must realize that auditing is really a natural process by which you are really placing your attention on some part of your bank. And it's generally, we say your bank is generally the reactive bank, which we're referring to, but sometimes I guess it could also refer to your standard bank as well. But mainly in Dianetics, we are dealing with the reactive bank, because what we're trying to do, we're trying to lessen the instances where some memory or some past experience would come back, would pop back up in the present time and affect you in the way of altering your thinking. And this is why in Dynetics, the ideal state, they call it a clear, because it's just like a clear button on a calculator. When you hit the clear button, then you start over. But what happens is, as we experience life and we have the bumps and the bruises of life, if you have a pretty heavy bump here, that bump stays in your mind, it stays in your memory, it stays in your consciousness, sometimes just below the threshold of your awareness of it. But it's still there, even though you may not even be aware of it. So when you are able to re-experience these things, you are able to minimize and even erase the negative effect that it may have on your thinking. Because even though you are not aware of some instances, they are added to the calculation of everything that you think. See? And so that's why when these things are deleted, you're called a clear. When your reactive mind is deleted, that's why you are called a clear. And this is our original when we first began to study Dianetics, the modern science of mental health. We are given clear as a goal. Now, some people have, in my opinion, misinterpreted clear as the end all, tell all, holy grail of states, which it is a very desirable state. However, it is not the end of your problems. Mr. Hubbard says several places, he talks about the fact that a clear, if you are clear, it just means that your subconscious mind is not adding anything to your calculation. Your subconscious mind isn't. Your reactive mind is deleted, so it cannot contribute to the calculations. And if you have a reactive mind and it contributes, then it is the source, as he said, it is the source of aberration. And actually, he says in book 1, he says that the engram is the single source of aberration. Now, I beg to differ, because we know that there are other things that aberrate you, false information, false ideas aberrate you. Matter of fact, engram is not the main source of aberration. It is a lie. It's a lie that was introduced to us. Well, it's actually been introduced ever since right after the beginning of creation. And that's one reason why the truth is always ultimately stronger than a lie, because the truth is the original. The lie was added after the truth, but the function of the lie is to make the truth truer, is to further a more intensely align you with the truth. But the lie was introduced by Allah as a check, you see. And we are going through the period in our history as a nation where the lie has been given reign over the truth to totally exploit the truth, so that we can get all of the characteristics of the lie into our awareness and actually gain mastery over the lie, not eliminating the lie. It's going to be some lies. Whenever there's truth, the truth is the counter reality of, in other words, a lie is the counter reality of the truth, you see. So everything in this universe is based on two, as Mr. Hubbard said, you have truth and a lie. You have opposites. You have positive and you have negative. You have light and then you have darkness. And then there is a set of things that you can get to audit called the dichotomies. And you look at the prefix di means two. So, this is what we were talking about earlier today when we were talking about putting the teachings into fine language. This is the fine language that we are acquiring today. We have been set on a course of study that allows us to look so deeply into our reality because we are God's brothers and sisters. But part of what we got to do, we've got to realize and we've got to embrace the fact that we are God. And we have to admit to ourselves that sometimes we don't think very much of ourselves. And this is not anything to be ashamed of. It's something to be ashamed of if you find it out and then you don't do nothing about it. If you don't change your thinking, you and we have got to change our thinking. We don't want to get stuck into this world. And this is what happened to Lot's wife when they was trying to lead her out of Sodom and Gomorrah, but she just couldn't change her mind. She could not, refocus herself to where she was going as opposed to where she had been. And we all have been in a position of that was undesirable for us, that was uncomfortable for us. But Allah is calling us out of that today. We are the first of those who are being called out. All the way out. So Allah, he's led us, he's leading us to areas of our mind, areas of our study that we've never studied like this before. We've never made considerations like we are making now. It's because Allah wants to give us a new thought, a new level of thought. He's even breaking thoughts down to giving us the different gradients of thought. All thought is not equal. The power and the intensity of thought, it varies. As the minister teaches us in the study guide, and he's teaching us all of this stuff. L. Ron Hubbard is teaching us. The minister basically and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad have really already taught us. But Mr. Hubbard's teaching give us some of the finer language so that we are able to see some of the microscopic particles of the language, of the spirit, of the mind that ultimately affects the body and ultimately affects even the physical universe that we are a part of every day. So it's just wonderful that we have these things as tools. But of course, as a sister was mentioning earlier in STW, when you got knowledge, you got understanding. When you got knowledge, you got responsibility. It automatically comes with that. You have a responsibility to use that. Now, if you don't use the knowledge, then the positive effect, it kind of backs up on you. And it causes you to retrogress. Or at least that it creates a force of retrogression. So if you're moving fast, if you reject knowledge, if you reject the responsibility of knowledge, then it slows down the pace of your evolution as a human being, as a spirit, as a God. So I remember the minister saying, he said that in the beginning was the Word, the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And he was saying, he pointed out that he said that the Word contains the Spirit of God. It contains the essence of God. It contains the perspective of God. It contains the arrangement, the organization of perceptions and the thoughts of Almighty God. Mr. Hubbard said words are packets of thought, packages of thoughts, it's arrangements of thoughts that give us perceptions that align us with the reality that Almighty God have created. And even the reality that we create, because we create reality. We are gods ourselves. And so the God has come to use his word to align our thoughts with his thoughts so that we can become one with God and reclaim the power that we once had. Well, we've always had. We've never really lost the power except for the fact that we have been put to sleep. And part of the reason why we were put to sleep is so that we could have the clear button, or that we could reset our calculations, that Allah brought us over here and he totally wiped our memory clean. He wiped everything. He wiped your name, your culture, religion, folkways, mores, your history, your family. He wiped you clean. He gave you a clean slate so that he could rewrite in his words, his packets of thought, the perception of a new world that he wants to bring into existence. And he conditioned us in such a way where it would be easier or easiest for us to reject the current world which we've been brought up into. And that's why this world is repulsive. So it's so beautiful to experience the favor of God. So he says that gradiently increases the ability. So every time you encounter something that you don't have the ability to do, you're trying to do something that you don't have the ability to do, then the solution to the problem is just keep on revisiting that particular thing. This principle is active. I'm a musician, I'm a music teacher, and my students, I watch them and I see them start off with next to no ability at all. And I said, man, the only thing you got to do is practice. Keep on doing it. Go back to it. Start over it again. Practice page so-and-so. Practice this scale. Practice this chord. Practice this arpeggio. Keep on practicing it. And just as sure as you keep on practicing, you will conquer that particular thing. And the same is true with auditing. I don't care what problem that you and I might have in our life. We can at the very least, lessen the effect of this particular problem by visiting it, by recalling this particular thing and going over it. And every time you go over it, you are achieving gradiently or gradually a new level of mastery over this particular thing. That's the whole thing of auditing, where you put everything out on the table. So when you put everything out on the table, you can look and you can see what is in line with what is correct and what is not in line with what is correct. So once you identify what is out of line, then you put your focus and you put your attention on that, because putting your focus on this particular thing, you are actually able to use your God power. Your focus and your attention is just like the science fiction movies. You got a laser beam that will burn something up just by focusing that laser beam, where your attention is very much akin to a laser beam, that when you focus your attention on a problem, even within yourself, the power of your attention, the God power in you, it burns that particular thing up. It's that, and that's simple, right? I mean, that ain't no rocket science. We should be able to go down into the, go down to the homeless shelter and preach that. Go ahead, Sister Tina.
Yes, sir. When you were talking about the how Master Farah Muhammad had to start us just over, everything had to be stripped from us. We had to, leave it all. Our culture, our religion, everything was taken from us because we had to be made zero.
Right.
And I got a cognition because that's oh wow, it's leaving me now.
It's all right, sister. Just relax.
Oh man, but it was so good. Whew.
Just relax. Relax. The Holy Quran said that whatever you get will not be abrogated. It'll come back to you. So just, you can feel free to raise your hand back up, sis.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. But I'm just saying that, we're talking about auditing, see, and see a lot. And so we have in the nation, and really even in the church, it's a very surface, if you ask me, it's a very surface definition of auditing. Maybe some of the more trained, averse auditors may be able to articulate it a little bit more, but see, we need to understand what it is that we're doing. Is your hand back up, Sister Tina? Did you get it?
Yes, sir. I got it.
All right, go ahead.
Everything. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches and the minister teaches, Allah can't use nothing of this world. Nothing. Everything of this world cannot be used in the hereafter. So everything has to be stripped from us. The way we eat, everything. I mean, 1 meal a day, who ever heard of that before the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? 1 meal every other day, every 3 days, fasting, 3 days out of the month. Everything. We have to just adhere to everything that's new, that's been given to us from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the minister, and even the technology of L. Ron Hubbard. That's new. I mean, that's new to the scientific world, to the world of medicine, to the world of mental health. That's new.
That's right.
Oh my God. So that's the cognition I got. And I've been having this thought for a long time, as far as one of the holistic doctors told me, that's in the nation. She told me that she has her degree in nursing from the world. She has her degree. So she was disillusioned. She just got frustrated with just writing prescriptions all the time in a revolving door. So she wanted to go into holistic medicine. She just couldn't get it. She couldn't get the holistic medicine thing. But then she realized that she had to empty out from what she learned in school where she got her degree. She had to let all that out of her mind. She had to let it loose, let it go, empty out. And when she did, that's when she began to get the new from the holistic medicine. And she
Yeah.
started understanding. And she's one of our best in the nation.
Right.
Yes.
Praise be to Allah. Yeah. So she underwent an audit of what she had, you know, of the education that she had. It was audited, and then it was found that obviously there was some problems in that particular education. And so this is what the Scientology and Dianetic auditing does. It helps us just by just real, if nothing else, but just going back over incidents again until we are able to achieve uh, really ultimately ARC with that particular incident, understanding. See, ARC is understanding too. And we should, when we're building our word families, the new people may not know what we're talking about, but the word families just means a family of words, words that are closely interrelated, in some cases interdependent, because affinity, reality, and communication, they are interdependent words. Knowledge, responsibility, and control are really interdependent words when you look at these words in the fullest sense. And then that's what if you've been on the call earlier, the word clearing call, that's what we determined Scientology to mean, was knowing in the fullest sense of the word. And that's what we're trying to do. Man, we are trying to get every little bit of blood out of this turnip. And so we have to realize, though, that we did not get in this position overnight. You know, they didn't bring us from Africa today, and then tomorrow we don't have no folkways, mores, or history, or language, or religion, or culture, and all that kind of stuff. It took a minute for them to take that from us. And it's gonna take a minute for us to develop a new culture. But see, the new culture, since we have been put on reset, it will totally reflect the absolute nature of God in which you and I were created in, the God of righteousness, the God of truth, the God of goodness, which is part of your nature. But as we were saying, see, we didn't get in this position overnight. So it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little gradualism, to transform us into what Allah ultimately wished for us in the beginning. See, he did not really wish for just the perfection of Jesus, but he wished for the perfection of all of those who Jesus would draw up under him or draw unto him. He knew he wasn't going to make a Jesus. He wasn't going to make a Christ, and then the Christ was going to be all out there by himself. He knew that based on our nature, that we would be able to see this entity, to perceive this entity, and we would be attracted to this person, Christ, Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And this is why it is so important. And I want to be real careful because I don't want us to get into no personality worship, because we are not to worship the minister. We are not to worship the messenger, but they are part of the one that we do worship. They are a closer part, a manifestation of the one that we do worship. As we were saying the other day, they are the evidence, because we don't see Master Father Muhammad. We don't even see Elijah Muhammad. But Farrakhan is the evidence of their presence. And he's also the evidence of their majesty. Glory to thee, Allah, and thine. See, glory to thee, Allah, Master Farad Muhammad. Thine is the praise. So we give all praise to Allah. I mean, all of it. And by giving it all, see what we're doing, we are erasing any connection that we have made other than God from this covenant with hell. So we say, glory to thee, Allah. Thine is the praise. Blessed is thy name. So the name is the composite picture of the creator that resides in our mind. Blessed is thy name. So even when you just think of Allah, it draws you into the magnetic pull that's pulling you back to your original self, your nature, to submit entirely to the will and the laws and the purposes of Almighty God Allah, making you one with him. Glory to thee, Allah. Glory. The best part, focusing on the best part, focusing on that part of Allah that brings you and everybody joy, that part that makes everybody survive and everybody thrive. Glory to Allah. And thine is the praise. Blessed is thy name, and exalted is thy majesty. The majesty is the reflections of everything that he has put, the stars that he has flung into the universe, the galaxies, the meteors, the comets, the aurora borealis. Exalted is his majesty. It's exalted. You can look out, I'm going to go for a walk before the end of the day. And then when I start looking to the east, if you look at the eastern sky right now, you'll see the moon. And even though the deportation of the moon might not be the most attractive history, but it is still represents the majesty of Allah. And none deserves worship. So when we are able to just clear everything out, see, worshiping anything else, it crowds the space where Allah belongs in the soul. There's no room for anybody else, anything else but Allah. But when we allow Allah to come into the soul, then the soul and the thoughts and the character of the human being begins to reflect what you let into the chambers, if you will, of the soul. That's why it's so important to submit, give up everything. The man asked Jesus, what did he take? Or what would it take to get to heaven? Jesus said, man, sell everything you got. give to the poor. What was he saying? He was just saying is that these things that we have, there is a tendency to put too much emphasis to and even to worship these particular things sometimes. So if you are willing to give it all up, then you can see heaven. So it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to get into heaven. That's what it's talking about, brothers and sisters. Or at least that's part of what it's talking about. That we have to get the mind. And that's what I'm trying to do now. I'm just trying to paint a picture of total submission. Give it all up. Leave it all. I'm all in. I'm leaving. What did the minister talk about Kobe Bryant the other day? He said, left it all on the court. Leave all of this, whatever influence this world has got of us, we leave it all, wherever it is, we leave it for Allah. We stand for Allah. It make me think about my man again, Sly and the Family Stone. He had a song called Stand, S-T-A-N-D. Stand, and the end will still be you. One that's done all of the things he set out to do. So stand for Allah, and in the end, you will still be you. And your stand will make you able to do all the things that you set out to do that are of righteousness. And if it's not of righteousness, you don't want it anyway because it's on the way out. It ain't going to be here too much longer because Allah is rooting it out right now. There won't be nothing left, tree nor branch. So oddity increases our ability to do all of the above. It increases our ability to be God. It increases our ability to change our mind rationally, to use our mind rationally. Increases the abilities of a person so that he becomes more able, and his survival, happiness, and intelligence. I don't think we talked about intelligence lately, but intelligence, do you know what intelligence is? Intelligence is just the ability to discern similarities and differences and identities. And we use our intelligence to solve problems, to pose problems, solve problems for everybody else, for anybody else, brother, or others. Okay? And auditing increases intelligence because when you audit something, there's something that's been hanging around in your mind, and when you are able to put that thing away properly, then you see things clearly. Like the man that saw men as trees. And then obviously Jesus must have audited him on a certain level. See, whenever you speak to somebody and you make something clear, when you can make reality perceptible to this particular person, you have basically audited them. Because if you see things more clearly, then you are more able to survive. Did your hand go back? Oh, Sister Annie, I'm sorry. I thought that was I thought that was Sister Tina still up. Go ahead, dear sister.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum.
Like salam.
Uh, I don't recall exactly what it was she said that made me have the thought. But as you said, whatever it was, I said to myself, why is it that some of us hear the teaching and are attracted to it and some are not? And it made me think of a over 2-hour conversation that Sister Tina and I had yesterday. And if you don't mind, Sister Tina, that if I just divulge a part of that conversation, just a little small piece of it. But Sister Tina and I were talking about the locks and the key-ins and the secondaries, and going over the definitions of it, trying to clear up whatever it was that we didn't understand about those words. And in the course of it, we both locked onto the word lock as that being this, somewhere in it is something to do with the word lock, and maybe his definition or we're so tied to the definition, the general definition of lock, that it makes it harder for us to see his definition of the word lock. Yes. And so then Sister Tina says, could it be that we have an aversion to that word, or I'm paraphrasing what she said, that we have some type of aversion to that word because of what we went through in slavery? Being locked up in chains and all of that.
Absolutely.
And I said, oh my goodness, Sister Tina, I think you've really locked onto something right here,
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But I mean, that thread of that went throughout the rest of our conversation. And it came up again when you said what you said earlier, and which brought up in me the question about why some of us hear the teachings and are attracted to it and some are not. And I thought about the rusty locks, and I'm like, those 17 million keys, the key in. So part of what we said yesterday was that you have to put the key into the lock to turn the lock to access what is locked up, which is the engram. Because we don't realize that there is an engram until we're actually keyed into it. And so I thought to myself, well, you have to insert the right key into the rusty lock of our mind. So we have to hear the part of the teachings that keys us in. So you might come to the person talking about Yaqub and, his whole process of making the devil. Well, that doesn't key you in. But then you might come and hear the minister talking about the 4 Jesuses, and something in that lecture might key you in, and then it connects to the cellular memory of who we once were, and it places our attention on the reactive bank. So now we're willing to start that auditing process, and we become hungry to hear more and more of the teachings, because it's, as you were just talking about, the chamber of our soul is now entered into the chamber of our soul. It's made that connection. And so now we become more willing to, and we see the importance of, as we go further and further into it, of submitting, and then we willing to sell everything we got, or we no longer have the desire for the worldly possessions. So that's what I got out of that when you said it.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, sister. Yeah, that whole thing is fascinating. And I think on the the other day when we were, it was either STW or the word clear, and I forget which one. And you had, I remember you had brought up the thing about locks, and I believe that it would really warrant maybe a special separate class. But and actually, and I won't say that, I'll just say once we get to that, when we get to that part of the word clearing, because the Scientology words to clear words, locks, I'm pretty sure locks is in there. Yeah. Ingress in page 3. She starts off with it says reactive mind. And I'm just going to read it without going too deep into it. Reactive mind is reactive bank, the portion of the mind which works on a stimulus response basis, which is to say, given a certain stimulus, it will automatically give a certain response, which is not under a person's volitional or voluntary control, and which exerts force and power over a person's awareness, purposes, thoughts, body, and actions. Goes ahead and says, to say, it consists of locks, secondaries, engrams, and chains of them. So you got chains of locks, you got chains of secondary, and you got chains of engram, and is the single source of human aberrations and psychosomatic ills, which he says psychosomatic ills is 70% of the ills that we have as human beings. So this thing of locks need to be understood more. And I think that I need to as well study a little bit more to connect, to see if how these things will connect, because as we were talking earlier today, the thing of locks and secondaries and engrams, this is a part of the Scientology or Dianetic vernacular that came about in the 50s. And we need to establish, so in other words, if you got locks, then we need to establish a word family. If we can establish a word family around locks, we establish a word family around Scientology, which was one of the word in the word family of Scientology is Islam, you see. And in certain aspects, you could say Christianity. These are in the word families. So I think that as we are clearing these words, if we can use them, because some of the, as we were saying, the general understanding of the word lock seems to be different than what Mr. Hubbard is putting forth. And so we don't want that to be a source of confusion or, or a source of us misunderstanding the words used properly. Because when you start talking about locks, and it's interesting, even in the vernacular of Scientology, when you have locks, a lock is a mental picture. It's a mental image picture of non-painful but disturbing experiences the person has experienced. It is an analytical moment, which is also called in Scientology a key in, where you, in your analytical experience, you perceive something that aligns up with, that is similar to the contents of an engram or a secondary, which a secondary is just a painful emotion. A secondary is an engram that doesn't have physical pain in it, just like the loss of your mother. You had you had pain, but it wasn't physical pain. Sometimes it can eventually manifest as physical pain. You know how that pain you get in your stomach, or sometimes if you ever lost a lover, if you lost a lover, a romantic, somebody you was really in love with, and then you lost that particular person. That's why some people, they get pain, they get physical pain. Sometimes they can't eat and go through all kind of things that end up manifesting themselves physically. So we want to, and I so much appreciate you bringing these things up, because these are some things, in my opinion, that really need to be clearly reconciled, so that we will not be just saying, that the general meaning of lock and key. Like I said, it's interesting. You say you're talking about a lock. A lock is a key in. Well, I guess it keys in, it unlocks the power of the engram. We can look at it like that, but it definitely, your observation definitely shines light to me on the need to really reconcile that particular thing. Because if you go to the church, they're not going to tell you. The only thing they're going to give you is the book, is the dictionary. Read it for yourself. So what if I read it and I don't understand it? Too bad. Unfortunately, that's what happens. But we understand. See, that's why we believe in the scriptures, and we believe in the prophets and what the prophets brought. And the prophets say, how would they know except they had a teacher? And how would they have a teacher unless he be sent? So it really said that we have to have a teacher. And when I think about the teacher, I have to think about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. God taught the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he brought us, based on what he was taught, he brought us the message to the Black man. He brought us the message. And then the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan took that message after we faltered on the message from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He took that message and then he began to teach us. Now we are being taught, and that's part of the reason, I think, why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, don't pay attention to how I said it. Pay attention to what I say. And now you put it into that fine language. So he's saying, I'm the messenger, but maybe you are the teacher. You are the vicar of Christ. The vicar of Christ is the head of the Catholic Church. And I guess the Methodist Church, the method of the Methodist Church is that it's teaching. For my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So even after the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave us the message, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's job obviously was to teach us. So, man, we can't get off of this one this one definition of auditing, but I think we're just about there. So auditing just helps us in a lot of different ways. And then there are so many different ways that we can receive auditing in one way. And actually, as you will learn as we go along with these word clearing sessions, that auditing, this can be considered auditing. And we won't go into that just today. But our brother Malik the other day, he was talking about the different aspects of auditing. He said that we audit group. That's what STW is. It's a group straight wire. And so you have the technical dictionary. I want you to look up straight wire. And then we'll talk about that. Straight wire is a type of auditing. So it says Scientology processing is called auditing, by which the auditor listens, computes, and commands. Auditing, number 4. So is, and I really love this definition, auditing to get a result on a PC. That made me think about Sister Denise when it says to get a result, because that's to get a result, that means that it's working. If you're getting a result, then you know it's working. And it's very practical. And even beyond that, it's just simple. To get a result. And that's what we're getting. We're getting results. We wouldn't be spending our valuable time on this doggone Zoom call if we ain't getting some kind of results. By Allah, through Allah's servants among us, Minister Farrakhan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We're getting results. We turn our lives around. And many of us probably were living a less than desirable life. And some of our people that come in, we were just living downright low down, dirty lives. And when we heard this teaching, it helped us to put our case on the table to where we can see it from a different perspective, from an exterior perspective. And we were able to get results. Grandmama and them told us to stop smoking and drinking. But when Farrakhan said stop, we got a result. So we're going to leave it right there. And we will resume on number 5, definition number 5. And then I also want you to, if you would, look at the definition of straight wire, because that's what this is. This is a combination session. This is a multi-functional session where we're getting auditing, education, training, and we're getting a certain amount of prayer. See, this whole session, really, you can see it as a prayer when you understand, well, what really is prayer? Well, it represents your communication with God, but what is communication? So anyway, we are at 2:00. I thank each and every one of you so much for being on the session, because I know that these sessions, in the name of Allah, we are creating building blocks for our God to build his kingdom. And I hope that and matter of fact, not only do I hope, it ain't really so much hope. I already know that Allah has something special for each and every one of us that have turned our attention. Do you know that's your most valuable asset? Is to give your attention. It ain't just give, which, like Brother Jason was talking earlier about, giving in physical, monetary charity, but give your attention to that which is creating a new world, is preparing a table before us in the presence of our enemies. So thank you, brothers and sisters. And I'm pretty sure Brother Lukeman, I meant to ask him about his class. I need to tell him that, he need to assert himself if I forget. I encourage you to check Brother Lukeman out, check what he's saying out. All of us got different angles that we're doing things. We covering different things. I can't cover everything. He can't cover everything. But I encourage you to check my brother out. And I think he would, if you've been to one of his classes, he will send you an email and let you know. Normally his classes are on Sundays around 6:00. So thank you again for your participation in the session.
Brother Bartine. Oops.
Yes.
Yeah, my hand's been up, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. When you said that this is a combination session, we're getting auditing, education, training, and prayer. We're also getting a lot of release and restoring attention units.
Praise be to Allah. That's right. All praise is due to Allah. Thank you, Sister Jacqueline. All right. Well, that's it. We're going to end off in prayer as usual. Attention prayer. And we pray. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. All praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the world, the beneficent, the merciful Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. Thee alone do we serve, thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path. The path you have bestowed favors, not of those whom your wrath has brought down, nor those who go astray. O Allah, we ask all of these things in the name of and through your servants, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Amen. Inshallah, we'll see you on Tuesday. And you got our number if you need us for anything. Love you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Love you all back.